so they can try to quickly reach out to different locations. Our system is operating in most areas outside of the flooded locations, with some exceptions of areas that are served by systems located in the floods. With that said, at this time we are focusing the majority of our attention on disconnects and emergency or safety situations, certainly working within the EOC to focus on areas there first. So if you are without power, we would encourage you to plan to be without power for some time. Can't guarantee a length of time at this time, but do plan ahead that the power may not be restored anytime in the next several days. And certainly that sounds dire, but I want to be extremely clear that this is a major situation, as everyone else has said. It's different than anything we've ever experienced in our company, and so we are writing the rule book at this time on how to move forward. With that said, our call center is extremely limited at this time. We certainly apologize for that and are working towards improving the technology to be able to get more calls in. However, that's going to take some time, and at this time, we have a limited capacity. So I would ask all of our customers throughout our service territory, not just in Cedar Rapids, to please refrain from making general business calls so that the emergency-only calls do get priority. Certainly that would include if you need your home turned off because of floodwaters moving into that area. Certainly water and electricity do not mix, so stay away from floodwaters, as you'll hear from other folks up here today, but also certainly stay away from electrical equipment as well if you're around floodwaters. Again, we appreciate your patience. We're working hard. Our crews are residents here too, and they're dealing, and we're all hurting together, but we'll continue to work at Alliant Energy and with the utilities and with the EOC folks in the city to try to get people in the best shape possible. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next, we're going to have representatives from both hospitals, Mercy Hospital and St. Luke's Hospital. Laura Rainey is representative for St. Luke's. The spelling on the last name is R-A-I-N-E-Y. Representative for Mercy Medical Center is Karen Vandersen, V-A-N-D-E-R-S-A-N-D-E-N.
I'm Laura Rainey from St. Luke's. I just have a few notes to actually communicate. St. Luke's is not evacuating. We did lose power this morning about 7:30, so we are on backup generator power. Backup generator power can actually keep us afloat for a couple of days here, so we're not concerned about losing power there. Just to let you know, we are not evacuating. Our ER is open, our clinics are open, and we actually are seeing quite a few patients through our ER, and we're handling the capacity fine at this time. We have canceled elective surgeries for Friday and Saturday, and then we'll just kind of make a determination on what to do next as the crisis progresses here. Otherwise, we're working on some staffing needs to see if we can accommodate our patients and our families to make sure that we have the right staff in our facility and to accommodate with their personal needs that they may have at this time.
Again, I'm Karen Vandersen from Mercy, and our situation is similar to St. Luke's. We lost power this morning. We're on emergency backup power and can be for 6 days. So we feel confident that all our vital systems will be operating to that time and beyond. Again, we too have canceled elective surgeries and procedures for today, and we're assessing whether that will hold through the weekend or not. That's due to the lack of steam power. The steam plant, Alliant Steam Plant on Cedar Lake, was flooded, and therefore we have reduced sterilization capabilities. So just, of course, to be on the safe side, those surgeries have been canceled at this point. We still have access to the hospital for our patients, but the water is lapping at our door today. So we've had crews out sandbagging in some of the lower-lying areas of our campus. It's away from the patient care areas, so we feel good about that. Most of the patients are all up in the tower. We've asked today that our patients not take showers because we've had limited hot water capabilities. But right now, it may already be online. We had a portable boiler brought in from Chicago, and that was being hooked up as I was coming out here. So Again, we are fully staffed. In fact, we had a lot of people come in who weren't scheduled to come in, and they've been deployed out into the community to help with medical needs in the community. So we're good in that area. All of our, most of our clinics are open. We've put out a news release about several of them that are in flooded areas or who have lost power. So we're down a little bit on our clinics, but our urgent care facilities are open. We haven't had an influx of flood-related patients into our emergency room. We had one broken ankle from an evacuee this morning. So that's the latest in terms of emergency situations into our department there. So I'd be happy to answer any questions after this if you have any more.
As you know, our Emergency Operations Center has been up and running since early Monday out at the Lynn County EMA building. All of the people that came up today, plus many other agencies that were not here, are all working very well together. Okay. Night and day, literally around the clock. People are out working as well as in the EOC. Next, we're going to invite a few of our elected officials, and I have to commend the cooperation, the way they have come together, both the city and the county elected officials, to make things happen, to give us the power and the ability to keep people safe and to get things done. So I do want to make that note and thank them and thank them for their continual support. First, we're going to have Chair of Lynn County Board of Supervisors, Linda Langston, Langston.
Thank you. Thank you to Kirkwood for offering the facilities. It has certainly been a challenging time. I would like to note that we're deeply appreciative of the partnership that we developed with Kirkwood several years ago in building the EOC. It used to reside in the lower level of City Hall. And if you think about what that would, what it's like now, if you've looked at the pictures, I think people understand that the partnership that we developed with Kirkwood to build that EOC has literally saved us this time. So thanks very much to Kirkwood. I would note, encourage citizens that are traveling on Lynn County roads to please check the Lynn County website. It was down for a bit this morning. It is back up and running. But we are having road washouts. We are trying to post those as frequently as we can to the website. I would note that we are also moving into anticipation for recovery. We are working with public health. There, as with both the hospitals, we will have tetanus shots available for all of city and county staff as we move into those efforts. I would also like to note that both with city staff, or with county staff and the elected officials, are working on a 24/7 basis. So we have ourselves scheduled into the EOC at all times. Jim Hauser has done a valiant effort on working on the courthouse and the jail, although it was not successful, and the sheriff is now operating out of the History Center. But presently he is operating as a reserve officer with the sheriff. Supervisor Barron and I have been trading shifts at the EOC. So we will continue to work, and I would just like to thank the city, as Mr. Coach has indicated, the opportunity to work with the people that we have developed relationships with over time is really what makes it possible for us to respond in these situations. Because we know people well, we understand and work in regular day-to-day situations, it helps you get through these difficult situations. I would also like to thank the response from the state government and from the federal government. We have worked a lot with those various governments, and it's an indication of why government needs to be working in partnership so that local, state, and federal government work together so that we have an exemplary recovery effort as we get through this. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Mayor of the City of Cedar Rapids, Kay Halloran, Halleron. My apologies.
O-R-A-N.
O-R-A-N.
Sorry, Dave. It has been a very long 3 days, and you've done yeoman service. It has been a really long 3 days.
Our hearts go out to all those who have been directly impacted by this catastrophic event. Our entire community is saddened as we watch this devastating event unfold, hour by hour, usually on the television. The safety of our citizens is most important, and we urge residents to please put others and their own safety first. And this often means stay home, because when the emergency vehicles cannot get where they are needed, we all lose. The cooperation between the government agencies, community organizations, which you've already heard from, public safety departments, and the utilities has been absolutely exemplary. I am really impressed. While this is a tragic event, we have so much to be proud of. Thanks for all of the volunteers, the people who called when they weren't even asked. They said, "What can I do to help?" Almost overran our telephone line. While we appreciate everyone's desire to help our community, we must do so in a way that does not put anyone at risk, both volunteers and others. Recovery from this event will take a long time, but we will begin now. We already have. We ask citizens to reach out past their immediate needs and their immediate neighborhood to assist those who have been directly affected in any way which they can. I know that I speak for the other members of the City Council who are standing here behind me when I say that we will all pull together in coming days. Be assured that government officials, city, county, state, and the federal, are all beginning efforts to assist those affected, and we will be sharing this information with you in the near future. And I've just learned that the director of FEMA will be here tomorrow.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank Congressman Dave Loebsack for coming out of his busy schedule and showing his support for us. Last name is spelled Loebsack.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. Just want to thank all the organizations that are represented here today and the public officials. And two things I do want to stress. One is the public safety aspect of this. I think Peter probably knows better than anybody all the disasters that he's dealt with, that public safety is the critical issue right now. And for anybody who's listening to this who might be watching on television, I want to make sure that you know that if you're not supposed to be in a particular area, do not be there. That is the last place where you should be at this point, because you might not only engender or endanger your own being, your own self, but those around who are trying to do the job that needs to be done to make sure that we're all safe. The second thing is, as was mentioned by Mayor Halloran, FEMA will be on the ground tomorrow. Director Paulison will be here tomorrow. I talked to him on the phone about 2 hours ago. So I'm going to hook up with him tomorrow. I'm glad that Linda Langston mentioned and others mentioned the recovery efforts. While we're all thinking about how bad it is now and how bad it's going to be tomorrow, the recovery is going to be long term. But we have to be thinking in those terms at this point in time. So I'm happy that the director of FEMA is coming in tomorrow. I believe Senators Harkin and Grassley will be with him as well. So they will begin assessing the situation already. So thank you very much for doing everything that you're doing. I just appreciate it, and let's just make this recovery work as well as we possibly can. Thank you. Thank you. Just a few closing remarks here, and then we can open it up for questions. Just to reiterate what's already been said, we really do need the community's cooperation in not traveling into these areas. It can be very unsafe, plus the hindrance that it provides the workers that are down there trying to do their jobs. Also, you can imagine the system's overload on cell phones and regular phone lines. If you don't need to be on the cell phones constantly, we do ask for your cooperation in that area. And the last thing I want to say is that we will again be enacting a curfew tonight for those affected areas that have been evacuated, and that will run 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. just like it did last night. That curfew will continue until further notice, and we ask for the community's cooperation with that.
Looks Looks a lot like time check, doesn't it? Water way up on the garages and houses, completely waterlogged. And once again, looking north at downtown Cedar Rapids, the flood of 2008. John Campbell, KCRG TV 9 News.
Station all underwater. Now, nearly every business in downtown has several feet of water standing inside. Just take a look at that. That's actually 2nd Avenue, 3rd Street. Cars are completely underwater that people just didn't have time to get out before they left downtown themselves. Things are floating down the road. You can see this chair. We saw refrigerators, dumpsters, everything. But most surprising is how fast the water is washing in downtown. You can see here the force of the current sweeping into an alley. Let's see if that comes up in just a second. Well, anyway, the current is very strong down there, and that's why police are telling people to stay away from downtown. It isn't safe, and the water could suck you under and carry you away. It even took control of the boat for...
Farther along when we started at noon. Now, the amount of damage from the floodwaters...
National Weather Service continues to look at the information, but
until the water recedes.
She says, there you see some more of the houseboats.
But the bridge right there along Highway 1, that water is getting very close.
There is also an extensive detour now on Interstate 80, and I believe we have a map of that as well. People who are traveling from Illinois to Des Moines, or people traveling from Des Moines toward Illinois, they probably are going to be very surprised when they find out what kind of a detour they have. You can see it
into their evacuation orders. Now, representatives from Mid-American and Alliant Energy were also at the press conference earlier today. Now, all of their normal operating stations are flooded, so they are operated in areas outside of there. So listen to what one Alliant Energy spokesperson had to say about people that are now without power.
If your power's out now, expect it's going to be out for a week, even longer.
Give it some weight to hopefully hold it, but as you can see, it's really created kind of a dam, and it has backed up the water back upstream as well, and that's why that river crest is expected near the gauge to be at about 32 feet. Below that, still very, very much devastation as well. There's a little closer look, and meteorologist Kai Omer and I are both in the weather lab right now, and Kai, there's the bridge. We saw the one in Waterloo earlier that was taken. This is just a picture, one of those pictures that we'll remember forever from the flood of 2008, that devastation just taking over Cedar Rapids.
Here, Waterloo, Cedar Falls, Vinton's going to be the same way. Inside people's homes, we're going to have mud, we're going to have debris, lots and lots of problems, and some homes are already underwater completely, have already lost the structural integrity. Likely those homes will have to be torn down, so it's going to be a very, very devastating situation. Actually, most of the devastation occurring right now.
Any of these communities that have had flooding like this, not just the streets, but also the roads out in the country, the highways. So that's a very dramatic visual you have there, Justin, showing us that.
Oh, absolutely amazing. You know, and I've been pretty observant. I've been trying to be really observant out here all day, and I haven't noticed that. I haven't noticed that until maybe the last 2 hours. That's when we finally first started to see those bubbles come up. So that is the situation that we are dealing with. I'm going to talk here.
In this boat through downtown Cedar Rapids, and you see that store back there, the Family Dollar. They're just giving us kind of the view of what we are unable to see right now, of just these businesses and these homes that are flooded. You see the water going up into the front porch. You'll see some homes coming up here where it's literally up to the top of their front door there. It's just amazing video that we're able to show you here, and they're only moving at a speed of about 5 miles per hour because, as Dave was telling us earlier, you know, they're not sure what is underneath that water. At some points it's so high, I mean, there could be cars under there, there could be fences under there. I mean, Ashley had noticed that some street signs. Yeah. It was all the way up to the top there in some street sign areas as well.
Yeah, and we have something to tell you from Cedar Falls. Actually, we were talking about the dangers associated with being out on the waters, and you know, we've been covering Cedar Falls this week as well. Cedar Falls obviously saw the Cedar River crest earlier this week, and we did get something from the city attorney there. They say there are numerous health and safety concerns because of the high water levels of the rivers and streams. People are urged to take precautions to those. Of course, we want to say there are bacterial counts that are abnormally high. Everyone, including pets, should stay out of the water. And off the bike trails, parents are urged to keep their children out of the water And then they're also going to be talking about tetanus shots, another important part of keeping yourself safe. They are available at North Cedar School starting at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Again, at North Cedar School, you can get a tetanus shot tomorrow morning. And then they are expected that river level to stay steady. And at this point, they have opened downtown Cedar Falls to the public. So I guess that's a sign that their sandbags held, their levee held, some good things. But
it's been a couple of days since we have had any sort of good news with all of this flooding.
Right. We do have a phone number for Cedar Falls residents for FEMA. So get your pens ready. If you are in Cedar Falls and you have flood damage, this is a number you can call. 1-800-621-3362. Let's repeat that again one more time. Get your pens ready if you don't have one. 1-800-621-3362. Again, that number for FEMA.
This video that we're showing here, TV9's Dave Franzman shot earlier out on a boat. We're going to go now to him live. Dave, you were part of a rescue effort earlier this morning as you were out on the boat. I mean, the firefighters were rescuing somebody, a woman and her son from home.
That's right, and in fact also a German Shepherd dog, and that was about an hour or so ago. But they are still going out and getting people who have been out in the high water. And let's talk to a couple here that has just come in about 2 minutes ago. If we want to come back to a live picture here, we can see as we're going through. This is on the northwest side, which would be, again, on the north of 1st Avenue, kind of the dividing line. It's actually very near the central fire station, and that's the main fire station for all of Cedar Rapids. At some point, we'll be going by that. You can actually, see the fire station itself. That is A Avenue northeast, so that would be very close to the river. And we're trying to see what this is. It's a large building. I can't quite see. I believe that may be the church. That may be the, that might be the church. Yeah, St. Patrick, or it could be the fire station. I'm not quite sure. But again, a very, very eerie situation. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, we're watching. Obviously, you're going by the church right now on this amazing boat ride that you're going by, and then obviously you see how high the waters are, not only outside, but obviously that water is way above any sandbags that would have been there to protect the church and all these other buildings that may have spent hours and hours and hours sandbagging out there, and obviously it probably didn't even hold up to this.
Dave, when you're in the boat there, you said you're traveling at a very low speed, but you're also trying to navigate like you would be in a car, trying to stick to the road if you're able to determine that because of what might possibly be underneath the water.
A sign just sticking up right there.
Yeah, you can, at this point, you're probably in 4 or 5 feet of water. That seemed to be the average, and you want to stick to the streets because you don't know what's in the yards. There are gas grills, barbecue grills, there's all sorts of, could be yard furniture. Submerged cars is the worst. I've talked to several of the people, including a private contractor that the city's brought in to help with some of the rescues. Everybody's hit a boat, or hit a car rather, a submerged car. On this particular trip, we almost ran into a small compact car, and the only way that we knew it was there is that the trunk had come open, and it was like sticking out of the water, a little bit like the periscope on a submarine. That was the only thing you could see. And that's one way we avoided that. Fences would be another thing. We, at one point, were trying to bring this other family, we'll show you in a little bit, back from being rescued.
That's the Cedar Rapids fire station right there, Dave, that we're seeing right now.
Yes, we're having a little trouble seeing here because of the sunlight. But yes, that's Central Fire Station. I'm taking a look at it now. 5, 6, 7 bays. I'm not sure how many, but those are large bays where you would put the fire equipment in. Now, if you visualize a big fire rescue truck, you know how tall it is. Those are tall enough to accommodate that kind of a vehicle, and that's at least 3/4 of the way up on the...
Did the fire department manage to get all of those vehicles out? I mean, obviously, we know that several of these law enforcement agencies have relocated, and we just, obviously want to make sure that they got their equipment out so they can respond.
As far as I know, yes. Equipment, the mobile equipment, of course, they located to where it would be needed in the future. What they probably didn't save are some of the records of some of the historic memorabilia there. They were telling me in the ground floor of the main fire station, there was quite a display of things related to fire department history in Cedar Rapids, and I'm not sure how much, if any of that they were able to get up. other things, I'm sure, all sorts of furniture, computers, things like that, they may have lost that too, because they wouldn't have been as concerned about that. Now, who you see right here, that's Captain Tom Mackey from the Cedar Rapids Fire Department. He was driving the boat as we were going out, and again, this is going by some of the homes probably on the northwest side, the water at the bottom of the stop sign. So visualize how tall a stop sign is, which is about 4 or 5 feet off the ground, I'd say, on average. So that's the depth of the water. Another thing you got to watch out for is if you don't really notice it as much, but many streets are higher in the middle than on the sides. They're sort of curved that way, so the water runs off when it rains, and so you could run into the bottom of the street in the middle. You might want to stick to like the lanes of traffic, the right or the left side, which would be the deeper one. We hit a number of things with the boat, so you got to watch out. Getting stuck out there, then you'd have to be rescued. That wouldn't be very good. Not much current where we're at. Now, if you've gone out into the area near the main channel of where the Cedar River should be, obviously the current's very swift there because there's a lot of water flowing downstream. But on what you call the backwaters here, for the most part, it's fairly still because there's a lot of buildings, a lot of things that would impede the flow of the water, so it wouldn't be going that fast. It's not a straight shot to anywhere. But go out into the main part of the current, and you would definitely feel the force of that water.
Dave, these officials that you're going out with, I'm sure many of them might, or that you talked to throughout this week, many of them might have been around for the flood of '93. I mean, a lot of people are saying that this is obviously much worse. Are they putting in perspective, or are you yourself, can you put in perspective what we're seeing here?
Well, in floods of '93, you would not have seen this at all. So anything outside the banks of the river, except for some of the typical low-lying spots, it didn't happen. I mean, this has never happened before. I can tell you one thing, that they did learn some lessons, of course, from '93, which was the last major flooding event on the Cedar River. They went out and bought some new rescue boat equipment, including the boat we were on, an aluminum hull boat, large engine, very large, could carry a number of people. That's one thing that they purchased after the floods of 1993 for the fire department. The fire department also has some inflatable hull boats. I think they call those Zodiacs, is a term you often hear. They can actually get into areas that are a little tighter, so you need both kind of boat. They've got boats from other departments, and they're helping out as well. We've seen a number of boats coming and going this area on 1st Avenue, where we're at, which is about 10th Street, again on the southwest side, the west side of the river. That appears to be the launch point. They've also got, again, a private salvage-type contractor, diving kind of company that has gone out here. I believe that's a convenience store. That's on E Avenue, northwest.
Hey Dave,
yes.
Have you talked to anybody about insurance as far as, obviously we were talking about the floods of '93, and this area was, not flooded in 1993. Have you talked to anybody who was actually covered and who won't have to completely, seek out help from FEMA and other sources? I mean, a lot of these homes are probably a loss. If you look at, they will probably have to be demolished.
Yeah, it's difficult to say. No, I've not talked specifically about insurance. I believe for mortgages, if you're in the 100-year floodplain, I believe flood insurance might be a requirement of getting a mortgage, but when you move beyond that, what's not normally considered to be, very much at risk, it would be a voluntary thing, but we'd have to talk to insurance people to kind of find out about that for sure.
Obviously, a lot of businesses that have been flooded probably won't be able to recover from this. Look how high that water is, all the way up to the bottom of a stop sign. And these porches, what you would normally have plenty of space to move about freely on, and half of them consumed by water, at least half of them.
Dave, we're going to switch gears and put the video in now of the rescue effort that you were involved with.
We even saw people actually sticking up and taking shots, of where the river levels are, so looking back towards downtown. And also, as you look past, you can see it's underwater right there. Or as you're getting through Quaker, almost up to the stoplights. You can see way in the distance there's some trucks that are almost fully underwater right there, and you can just see really the levels that it's at. This is where it's at right now. Throughout that. Now we're going to shift off to downtown. This is also a very high view off of the other tape that we had here of downtown Cedar Rapids. And we've been kind of hearing it in some other areas, thinking that, as you can see, the U.S. Cellular Center right here, that maybe it might be pulling back in some areas. It has been a dry day, a sunny day, a pretty warm day. As you've been going through, I can see one of the water levels there going off of the off-ramps right under there. If we have that other tape there for downtown Cedar Rapids also coming up there, you can see some of it right there. As you're looking down, that will be 1st Avenue East. You can, of course, see Lynn County right there for the courthouse and the jail and everything else. Just to give you an idea of where it is right now. And it's really dramatic when you see it, because we all generally see it from ground level, but when you kind of see the totality of it right here. So.
The coffee shop down there, and a jewelry store in the corner, that's right across the street from the U.S. Cellular Center. So many of those businesses, people, you know, they're not able to get down there to even see. They won't be for quite a while, be able to even see the damage in so many of those businesses.
And they're just backed up against that bridge. And
last night we had one we had heard about that had broken loose, but now you can see it whole.
There've got to be 20 up there, don't you think, Bruce?
At least,
probably.
yes.
Yeah, at least 20 up there. And I don't know how that bridge is holding, quite frankly. The train is still on top of it, though. You can see the train car still on the bridge also. But that was one thing we saw. We saw a rescue boat. I know Dave Fransman and some of the guys have shown you, had some great video on the water of the rescue boats out doing the work. But this was right over by the 1st Avenue Dairy Queen, just getting ready to go under that 380. This is St. Patrick's School and Church. I know we had some video of that earlier. One thing you might notice on the water that I noticed as I was editing the video, you're starting to see oil, gasoline on top of the water, things like that. It's very dirty water.
Obviously, the cars are submerged, and, you know, once that happens, it's anybody's guess as to what's in their motors and things.
This is pretty close to us, guys. This is going right down the railroad tracks, down here on the southeast side, 4th Avenue, 5th Avenue area. And you can see how far the water has come up. There on the upper right-hand corner, one of my favorite haunts, the YMCA, the Cedar Rapids Main Y.
Beautiful new building, the Y, yes.
This is an old bridge down by the former Wilson meatpacking plant that I'm told the city officials wanted to get wiped out. Well, it's been wiped out. It's gone now.
Okay, well, they accomplished one thing with this flood.
The year of the river.
Yeah, they got rid of that. Now, this is Mercy Medical Center. I know there's a lot of talk about that right now.
Right, and they have managed to evacuate everybody from Mercy, we've been told.
And last night, just an unbelievably frantic situation there with the sandbagging. You could see the bags, the line of bags down there on the Lundby Pavilion in front, the main entrance to Mercy Medical Center, and hundreds of people down there last night just going at a frantic pace, piling up sandbags inside the hospital, too.
Yeah, there's the public library right there. It's well underwater. The science station up at the top. Great America Building, is that what they call that? Great America Building.
There's the Czech Museum.
Yeah.
I have no idea whether, you know, they have so many artifacts and things inside the museum that are priceless. And I have no idea at this point whether they were able to save any of those.
Yeah, we hope to find out if they rescued all those pieces from the Cedar Rapids Museum of Art as well.
And just kind of the signature shot of our city anytime you see postcards or picture of Mays Island. And where are the 3 bridges? You don't even see them in this shot.
No, you don't. You don't even see any evidence of them, really.
No, they're hardly there, just a little riffle. But the jail, the county courthouse, City Hall, Cedar Rapids, that's when you see pictures of Cedar Rapids, that's the shot they show you. And the green island is gone between the 2 buildings.
Right.
This 1st Avenue coming out of downtown Cedar Rapids. You are looking into downtown Cedar Rapids. If Randy pans over a little more to the right there, you see the Dairy Queen sign. Look at how high the water is there, almost up to the drive-through sign out there on the bottom of the river there. You know, the shed for Dairy Queen is completely underwater. Behind those trees right there, you see the Dairy Queen building itself, and you can't see any windows, you can't see the front door. It's almost up to the top of the building. Randy, pan over a little more. We'll show you this white street sign that we're seeing here in the river. Obviously, the water is almost up above that street sign right there. And to put it into perspective, you know, if you think of a street sign, I'm 5'7", it takes me a good jump to touch up and touch the street sign. So, I mean, this water right here on the other side of the Cedar River, on the other side of downtown Cedar Rapids, could potentially be 7 to 8 to 9 feet high. Randy, pan over a little more. We'll get a shot of 3rd Street West here, the stop light right there. You know, there's that church in the background. Randy, if you pan down to see that 3rd Street Southwest and the 1st Avenue Southwest sign there, street sign just inches away from being completely covered. You see the current there hitting the church obviously very strong. We've been here for a couple of hours. We've seen many objects anywhere from a kid's swimming pool to a soda bottle to trash just taking off down the river. Now this shot here is all the way down 3rd Street West. Just look at that, the trees, it's almost up to the leaves on the trees there. And this is a good landmark for everybody that's traveling here on Interstate 380 and everyone that's watching at home. This building right here, Randy, if you can pan over right there, that is the Lynn County Sheriff's Office. You know, my best estimate from looking at it here is probably about halfway up to the top of the Sheriff's Office right there. And I'm not sure if you can see around the corner, but you can see here, from my perspective, just exactly, I mean, the water is coming close here to the Interstate 380 bridge, so it's no wonder that everybody driving here 380 north going into downtown Cedar Rapids is stopping to take pictures because, like I said earlier, this is quite possibly one of the worst flooded areas in downtown Cedar Rapids. We walked up that way by Quaker Oats. You know, you see the water quickly going down the river. Bruce and Beth, I know you're just getting this view. We haven't been able to bring you this view very well. Are there any questions that you have or anything you want to point out specifically while we're out here?
We're overwhelmed. Claire, as I know I'm sure you were when you first...
Everybody knows the Dairy Queen sign right there, and like I said earlier, it's almost up to where they put their menu. You see a Iron Grill sandwich is here. The Blimpie sign, the gas station sign way down there in the future, or way down there in the distance. And you can see the water just going over what used to be the First Avenue Bridge there.
Claire, I know you see that we see the Blimpie sign there and the Dairy Queen sign a little bit closer. The buildings beyond it, like on the Dairy Queen, it's just the roof that you can see now from the actual building?
Yeah, that's just the roof down there, right behind these trees here. It's just the roof of the Dairy Queen building. And I know you can't see it behind the trees, but the shed for Dairy Queen completely underwater. If you kind of make your way, we kind of made our way back in through that area, all of those buildings under there. You can't see any of the windows. You cannot see any of the doors. You get that shot right there of the traffic also on Interstate 380, obviously moving very slowly because everybody that is driving through this downtown area is just awestruck. I don't know how many cameras that I have seen, obviously.
Around North Liberty, so it's as close as you can get without going over right now. So that's the reason it's close now. People are out of their cars and talking to each other. We're not moving. There's a gentleman in front of me that's got out of his car and he's talking to the woman behind him.
Oh my gosh.
So we're not going anywhere, and I don't know if we're going to go anywhere for a while.
Yeah, we received a call from someone else who's caught in traffic who said she entered the interstate about the airport entrance and is just not even up to Highway 30 yet, and she had been there in traffic for over an hour, going 0 to 2 miles per hour, going northbound.
Right now. Whatever it is stop traffic completely because everybody's out of their car and they're talking to each other.
Scott, I'll tell you what it is. It's the fact that a couple hours ago the DOT announced to the media that at 6 p.m. it would be closing I-380, a large portion of it from between Cedar Rapids and Iowa City. And not only are they closing it, but they're telling us it's going to be closed for a week.
Roadblock, we didn't know it was closed. Several cars had to turn around like this. It's just over the railroad tracks there. It is... I mean, that right there out in the middle where you can see the rapids, that's several feet deep. That's one of the, a trailer from a semi right there. It's overturned. I believe it washed away from General Mills, which is, you know, only about 20 feet right there. You see it, yeah.
Well, that's what we've been saying about the detour that there is going to be in effect once the DOT closes I-380 completely down there by North Liberty, is that they're recommending this long detour. We're getting call or email from people about recommended alternatives, but we don't know. You could run into things like this anywhere.
People think it's just the Cedar River or the Iowa River, but there's all these small streams that are running into it that are overflowing. Like this is Prairie Creek right here. Edgewood Prairie Creek goes under Edgewood Road, and
it should.
I mean, yeah, and it's obviously overflowing, so it's not just the rivers. And I mean, there's no way you could drive through something like this.
You've just brought this video back. We have not aired this before, so if you've been waiting for something fresh from Cedar Rapids, you know, this is it. Tell us exactly again where you are. You're by General Mills.
By General Mills. It's on Edgewood, just north of 60th Avenue, I believe. It's kind of north of the Eastern Iowa Airport. You can see people turning around because we were having to direct traffic. Poor Travis Balkinstead was out there while I was shooting video, and he was having to tell people, turn around, turn around. You don't want to go this way. See, that's the road barriers right there that we talked about. We had to actually make sure those were back appropriate.
And this is just one example. We have no idea how many small roads, back ways that people could find that are going to be completely blocked off by water like this.
Exactly.
We have been receiving in our newsroom emails and requests from the area that you visited also today, Columbus Junction. People are saying, what about us? We feel like you've left us out. And
where we were expecting a crest at one point of 22 feet.
And Bruce, if you look here, this is Columbus Junction. It's kind of down, kind of like in a ravine or an alley, and people are already moving stuff out. This shop right here, they said that the water back in '93 was actually up to their door, which is about 3 feet up off the ground. And I mean, they're expecting worse this time. You can see the National Guard soldiers there directing traffic, getting them away from where that levee is. They're not right there. That's already flooded in Columbus Junction. That's where the water treatment plant is, and it's flooded. While we were talking to someone, the water started actually backing up out of the sewer in downtown, so they're afraid that's where a lot of the flooding is going to happen.
Right. Because we can't respond to every single email we get.
No.
But she was one of the people who was saying it's almost impossible right now to get onto our website to see this because it's just the traffic. The traffic is unbelievable on I-380 and people trying to get onto our websites. But this shows you, it gives you a few reference points.
It's south of Otis Road, winds around to the Indian Creek Nature Center, and then back to East Post Road. And what you're looking at there, the water in the distance, normally that's the prairie, and the train tracks are in between there too. The trail itself is clear on the other side of that water, and that is just completely underwater. I know a lot of people use this trail. I've used it myself. That nice big open prairie area. A lot of people let their dogs have a run. Well, that's all completely underwater right now. I even drove down Cole Street and I couldn't even turn the corner to eventually cross the tracks and then go to the trailhead. Just a lot of water down there from the Cedar River at the Sac and Fox Trail on Cedar Rapids southeast side. So that's, again, new video that we shot earlier this afternoon, and just going by what's still going on here downtown Cedar Rapids, I'm sure the scene has not really changed down there at the Sac and Fox, Joe.
No, and again, there.
Of the historic Sutliff Bridge. Part of it is no longer. It went down about noon.
All morning, of course, the river's been coming up, and logs and cabin came out of over there and got caught underneath there and just built up pressure. And then right around noon, another log hit it and just took out that first, the first arch that we have there. Yeah.
Loud explosion, or what happened?
A lot of crinkling and breaking steel you could hear. A lot of big splash. A lot of crying, people upset that we're standing here and watching, of course.
She's been standing there a long time, hasn't she?
111 years, yeah.
Well, we had a lot of people that was pretty upset, crying, because, you know, it's pretty much part of this community. And it's just one of those things. I guess Mother Nature just has a way of taking
from its foundations and sent it floating downriver. As for the Sutliff Tavern, it's surrounded by some sandbags, and crews were pumping water in and out of the basement, trying to keep it from collapsing. As Chuck Kuhn said, you do not rebuild history. This bridge will never be the same. Right now, Randy Howell is just trying to save his business down here on the Cedar River.
Whole condition that we tell everyone else to stay off the water, because they say it is flowing so incredibly fast. It is out of control at times and extremely dangerous when it's not out of control. Joe Willis and I, we were on one boat that there was just 4 of us on there, and we had a 90 horsepower engine. Now, to give you some perspective, that's a pretty big engine for a small boat that we were on. And even then, we were having a hard time fighting some of the current in some of the streets around downtown Cedar Rapids. So that is why they're telling people, please stay off the water. It may look calm in certain spots, and then you get out to those streets, and it is amazingly fast just how quick that current is going. There were times where we tried to turn around to go home, but we couldn't even turn around because the water was pushing us. So we had to go an extra block out of the way just to try and get around. And remember, that was with a really big engine on a boat. So if you were to try and go with just a canoe, or just a rowboat, I don't even want to imagine it, and the DNR and the other rescuers out here, they especially don't want to imagine it. As Bruce and Beth have said all day, please, they're saying, do not put yourself at risk to then put others at risk. And that has been the big message. You know, we haven't seen a whole lot of people try and get on the river here on the east side of town, but I am being told that there have been people who've tried, and they've had to immediately kick them off the river, get them out of town with their boat, because it is just not safe. Bruce and Beth, earlier we were talking just about how amazing it is to see the water down there, and just to see how why it is that we're so attracted to seeing that water. It's just so amazing.
It is, and you're never going to see it again. We are all experiencing history, not only in the city of Cedar Rapids or the cities of Waterloo, Cedar Falls, Iowa City, but in the state of Iowa. This has never been seen before. But I feel like a broken record here, telling people again and again, please stay away. Yet every time like last night when I had to leave, I had to, get permission, because we are technically in an evacuated area.
Yes.
We have special permission to be here. And they were putting up caution tape across the streets, or across the avenues, so that people wouldn't go down them. And, it wasn't working just telling people. They had to actually put up a physical barrier, but still people were walking and riding their bikes, and a surprising number bringing their children. This water is gross. It smells like dead fish. I don't think I'd really want my kids near it.
We have to remember, too, that these police officers, firefighters, so many other, the city workers, they've already put in some long hours out there, and they need breaks as well. They're, they're human beings, and they need to get rested up a bit also, so they can come out on the next shift. Yeah. And there only are so many police officers in Cedar Rapids. That's why we are really happy to have the National Guard come in as well. And
that's exactly it. Yes, earlier this morning we were telling our horror stories from yesterday, and I was saying,
but I got some special permission to get out there so that we could bring to our viewers why people in Palo cannot get to their homes. Even the rescue people who are out here that are volunteers, they've driven past their own homes several times on these boats, and they can't get inside either for pure safety reasons. So I want to kind of keep this brief, because I want to get back to you as soon as I can with pictures of Palo, so you can get some first glances of what that community actually looks like. And really, the other communities are a lot of flooding, but this community is entirely flooded. Everything is everything. Up second floors of buildings and whatnot. But one thing that's good news is a lot of people have been pointing out to me since I've been here, well, yesterday the water was here. Yesterday the water was here.
This is brand new. The community of Chelsea, we just received it this afternoon, and we've been hearing for days that
Yes.
Chelsea was evacuated. No one was there. They knew when the water was coming. And Chelsea has experienced in 93, it looked like Palo.
Oh, 93 was devastating to Chelsea, and the federal government came in and offered to buy out the homeowners and actually move the town. And most people there said no, they wanted to stay. So, but you can see cars, the homes there in Chelsea, they're cut off too. That's
Yes.
part of the problem with this community, is that the floodwaters come up and cut it off. A few days ago, but this is the J Street area down in Cedar Rapids, just off 33rd Avenue, I believe. And you can see, I'm trying to guess, would this be off part of Prairie Creek? I honestly don't know.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Who shot this, Michelle? If Aaron Hepker wants to step into the studio, he can just shout at us. But that was video, we understand, of Jason.
Iowa, the reaction is the same.
This is by far the worst I have ever seen anywhere.
In Cascade, crews spent the day pumping water from a storm sewer basin into the North Fork of the Maquoketa River. The river raged faster than people here have ever seen. Traveling south a bit further in Anamosa, this is the scene. Sewage-filled floodwaters surround the city's baseball and football fields. Self-proclaimed river rat John Dirks can best explain how this happened.
And the Buffalo's like a small feeder stream that comes into the Wapsie. And we got a lot of water on that, and we're sandbagging and couldn't keep up.
People living in the Jones County town say words can't describe what they're seeing.
The destruction and devastation there, and it's unbelievable. It's just, this could not happen. I mean, it's just...
Downriver in Olin, this is how 7-year-old Colby Soper is spending his birthday.
Putting sandbags up and moving stuff out of my mom's house.
And this is why John Carlson took us for a cruise through the residential neighborhoods, now completely underwater.
This is the worst I've ever seen. Like I said, I've never seen it this bad for as long as I've lived in town.
The worst they've ever seen. The sentiment echoed up and down the river. Throughout eastern Iowa, Katie Wiedemann, KCRG TV 9 News.
That was from Palo. This is some pictures from Palo. Yes, still photos here. You can see it's way up on that stop sign. That home in the background, way up in that garage as well. We're getting ready to switch generators. We have to do that if we want to stay on the air, and it's going to we're going to have to go back to primitive television, I guess. We're going to be moving out on the in front of the station and be working with one camera for a little while, maybe half an hour to even close to an hour, and we're going to stay on the air. If we do happen to go off for just a couple of minutes, don't worry, we will be back as soon as we possibly can, but we just do have to switch generators so we can continue. We have not had regular power here at the KCRG studio since about 7 o'clock yesterday morning, so that has meant we have been operating by generator all that time. These are more photos you see from Palo. Just again, you know, after a while these seem to almost start to run into each other when you think of the water against buildings, the water in homes. The scene is so similar from one community to another. Another picture from Palo. We really appreciate, I don't know if these are coming in on U-News TV or not, but we really appreciate the pictures and other things that people are sending to us on U-News TV. If you do have some photos or even some video that you've taken, this is from a plane going toward downtown in Mays Island. There's the City Hall, the Vets Memorial Coliseum, and in the background to the right, the jail and the courthouse, the county courthouse. I-380 with traffic moving very, very slowly, as you can see on there. That has been true it's for so many parts of today where traffic has been moving very slowly up and down the interstate, and a lot of that is people stopping up there in the interstate to sightsee a little bit. at least going by and snapping pictures and even shooting video. There's the railroad bridge by Quaker Oats, some of the boathouses that broke away from their moorings in the boat harbor up by Ellis Park up against that railroad bridge. Downtown Cedar Rapids, the water extending way back. Here at KCRG TV, it got to within about a half a block or so from our TV station. And from there...
The town of Palo is just a short drive northwest of Hiawatha on dry days. But check this out, the town of about 1,000 is over its banks, and the water is still overflowing the north end of town. On the southern edge of the county is Blairstown. Our cameras caught a town without the obvious river flooding, but the efforts of high creeks are there. South of Blairstown is Marengo, the seat of Iowa County. Here the water is not overtaking it, but they are closing off the city from the north end. Take a look at Amana, Highway 151 coming south. You can see it's fully underwater. Getting into Amana is not easy from the south side. Also, on the eastern edge of Amana, you can see the extra water from the Coralville Lake flowing right up to the edge of town.
Okay. Yeah, this is photographer Joe Wilson and I. Actually, no, this is Palo. This is Palo. Okay. So I actually shot this by myself today. I haven't done that in a few years. And so I apologize if I'm kind of shaky there, but I was in a boat with a firefighter and a member of the Sheriff's Department. Now, they took me through. This is what Palo looks like. Palo, we have not forgotten about you. We're not able to get to you. We've been working and trying, and a lot of people have been asking us, and a lot of people have been talking to the city council people saying, the city's not telling us anything. Well, they don't have much to tell. I mean, look at that car right there. Everything is completely underwater like that. You know, I was with the fire chief here for a little bit. His name is Judd Starn. He's the fire chief there in Palo. Even his house is underwater. So, you know, he can't get to his house. He's driven past it on the boat several times, but can't go in.
And you can hear the frustration in his voice when we spoke from city leaders in Palo, that the people that live there are getting frustrated, and they're getting, you know, he said sometimes they're getting a little short with them about why can't you tell us anything?
Absolutely, and I'll give you a perfect example of that. When I was leaving, just after I got off the boat from these views of Palo here, you know, we were leaving, and there was a couple coming down the train tracks, and I actually spotted them. With an eagle eye, you know, I spotted them, and they said, you know, oh boy, you know, we're not supposed to be here. So they came up walking up the tracks, and they said, you know, we know we're not supposed to be here, but we want to see pictures of our house, and yada yada yada. And so they got scolded a little bit, and you know, they were saying to the city council people as well. They were saying that's why they needed me to bring my camera in, a crew from TV9, whoever it was, to bring in a camera and show everyone how bad it is. And you can see from these pictures. Look at that beautiful old car underwater completely.
It was the mayor of Palo that
the
you
mayor
talked
pro
to,
tem of Palo, Jeff Beauregard, who
he's the mayor. Yeah.
He called and offered to arrange this boat tour this afternoon, and you know, we jumped at the opportunity because we have been wanting to get into Palo.
Yeah.
Scott Sable was able to get to the edge of Palo yesterday and shoot just a little bit of video, but these people have been wondering for so long now. And you told us that the water level has actually dropped.
Yes.
It was higher than what we're seeing.
They kept pointing out certain spots to me, saying, "See that right there, Katie? Oh, well, yesterday that was underwater a lot more."
Yeah.
So, you know, and it's like that's what they're proud of right now. You
Well,
know, you've got to find the silver lining somewhere, and that's what they're doing.
Kind of tell. Is that I can't tell.
Yep, Bruce, you're right.
Yeah.
That where those lines are. I think it fell
That's
off
where the water was.
Yeah.
Shows how high.
Yeah.
Those marks. Wow.
Yep, that's how high it was, and it's receded quite a bit since, you know, yesterday even. Just when I was on the tour, it went down probably a good 2 inches. So we were going across a little boat area. If you could see in the video where the guy had to get out and push, the firefighter had to get out and push because the water was so low at that point. One thing I did want to tell you too, though, is this just brought tears to my eyes completely, sent chills up my spine. I was talking with Paula Gunter. She's a city council person, newly elected city council person there. She's lived in Palo and she says, you know,
busy lady,
told me that that they don't really know a lot about it. That they're not to answer questions about that because that's a separate entity from them.
And so, you know, I really wanted some answers because I know that's a big question, but they feel like they're safe. They don't feel there's a problem, and you couldn't actually, where I was in the boat, you couldn't get to any pictures. I would have loved to brought back pictures of the plant to kind of ease people's minds and whatnot, but we couldn't get close enough.
When you drove to Palo, is the water still over Blair's Ferry, right?
I didn't take Blair's Ferry.
Okay.
I actually went, and this is another thing, I went 380 over Wilson, Edgewood, and then out F Avenue to get to Palo.
Okay.
And there was water over F Avenue. I was able to, some Iowa National Guardsmen were able to get me through there. But both ways, it was so congested. It took me 45 minutes to get there, and it's what, 10 minutes normally from here?
Palo's
far. It took me 45 minutes, but the strange part that I thought was really strange was that that's where everybody's going right now. Emergency vehicles, everyone's going to that one route, or one of the few routes. And both times, coming and going, there was emergency vehicles every which way going. You know, that's the only way they could go, and through the middle of this thick.
From Dave Elgin, city engineer, water is dropping 2 inches an hour. And this was from a press conference a couple hours ago. So as long as it keeps at that, you know, maybe it should be able to come out here. And again, we don't know whether it's going to happen, whether there's going to be more rain on top of this, but hopefully over the next few days. And we saw it firsthand this morning. It is pulling back, at least downtown, just outside of our studios here at 5th and 3rd downtown, which is so good to see. But of course, we're also seeing what's washing up.
Yeah.
And so much of, yes. I mean,
that's the word for it. It is disgusting what's left behind. If you'd like to help in the cleanup, or maybe with first aid or security, even childcare, we have an email here from Helping Hands in CR. It's a volunteer program. They are open for volunteer support with all these efforts. If you want to get involved with this, I'm going to read a number here because we've gotten a lot of emails from people wanting to help. So here's one place you can help. 319-241-0090. Again, 319-241-0090 if you'd like to help with Helping Hands in Cedar Rapids.
And again, as we've said, and we probably can't stress this enough, if you just want to help indirectly, look no further than your faucet.
Right.
If you're within Cedar Rapids as well, just try to do whatever you can. This is just straight urgency from the city as well, down to about Tuesday or Wednesday until we're out of water here, and that affects fire.
And we were mentioning as well, you know, one thing you could do to conserve would be to collect rainwater.
Yes.
So we're going to ask Joe now. Joe, is there a possibility of actually getting enough that you could do things with the rainwater we might get today? I think that goes both ways, if you do say so. We're grateful for you guys out there, you know, doing your jobs, risking your lives to get
our tour, and you have to commend them. At some points, they're working 72-hour shifts.
What?
At some point, yeah. You know, they're still having to do their regular firefighter duties as well, and then flood-related duties. So they are split down the middle here. But some of this, what are you looking at there? Johnny's Speed Shop there. I mean, most of these homes, what these firefighters were telling us is that most of the homes from C Street down to literally the river, if they don't have water in their second floor, they're lucky. That the water is all the way up on the second floor. We're not saying the first floor, we're saying the second floor. And these kind of things are, I mean, this is typical of what we're seeing, and it's really, I mean, you see the stop sign there.
This is today.
This is today. This was about an hour ago.
You can see the water line up on the house there, yes.
But you know, the water lines can be deceiving because, I mean, you see some points it's 4 feet deep, some points it might be 8 feet deep. But on some of these places, I mean, you look down and you see dry land about a block or two down. So the firefighters are really talking about how deceiving it is and how they never noticed how the landscape is so different. But here's, is this down?
That's how
this is downtown Czech Village, right there. There's the Maytag plant building there. This is about as far as they were able to take us to Czech Village. We weren't even able to make it all the way to the museum.
And you've got
for any shots.
The Chrome Horse.
Zindrix, there's Al's Red Frog.
Yeah, the music
Zindrix
lot.
Restaurant.
See the music loft right there. I mean, all of these places. At this point, we're probably going about 2 miles an hour. I mean, this took very long for us to get through.
The river crested at just a touch over 31 feet. This morning they were saying it was down to 29 feet. So this is, you could say this is roughly 2 feet lower than what the crest was. So.
But again, on some homes we saw maybe like a 3 or 4 foot drop, and on some homes maybe a foot drop, just depending on where you are. But see, this is kind of, if you just take a look, you can see barely, we're going to get a look of around this corner. This is where we're coming on. We're coming out on the B Street here. And we had to take a sharp turn. You can see how the boat moved so quickly, because if we weren't able to kind of rev the engine a little bit, we wouldn't have made it around the corner.
Really?
We would have floated down to A Street. When they hit A Street, you're in danger there.
Because of the current.
Because of the current. It's deceiving because you're looking at this video, you don't think it's very strong, but it really is. At one point, we got plastic wrapped around the prop, and we floated almost into a house as they tried to get the plastic off of the prop there. So it is, and you have to hold on tight because they just say, okay, hold on, here we go. Okay, now this is what I'm going to show you. You see the Czech Museum there in the background? This is about the only shot we were able to get as we round the corner. You see the Salvation Army truck there. But that's as close as we are right there. You could see just a little bit, the trees there. Yeah, Randy, you zoomed in right there. So that is the only shot. I mean, that's the closest we were able to get. See those homes right there? I believe we're going down B Street here, where we took that turn in Czech Village. But sometimes, I mean, we saw a porch wrapped up against a house. We were seeing Penford bags wrapped in trees from all the firefighters were pointing out the Penford bags that we were seeing. And I mean, you can see that, Bruce, and Beth right there. That's why they're saying people are lucky if they don't have water in their second story, just wrapped in there. You don't know where
it's your recycling.
Any of this stuff. That's what I was talking about. There's that porch there wrapped around the tree there. And I'm hoping Randy put it in there, but you see how close those power lines are? I mean, I could lift my hand up in the boat and touch the power lines. Obviously wasn't doing that, but that's how close it is. That's someone's home there, their front porch.
This is really clear. The first chance a lot of people have gotten to see Czech Village since the waters really started rising on Thursday. So thank you to you and Randy for getting in that boat. It's not the safest thing to really be looking at this part of town.
Certainly, we had obviously our life vests on and everything. And it was amazing. Right, like I said, we got in at 19th Avenue Southwest and Bowling Street. There were cops that were yelling at people trying to drive through 4-foot water.
No, you're...
Here's the Come and Go. That's the Come and Go gas station that's under there. And so, see, that's what I'm talking about right there. We are probably where we are. We're in about 5-foot deep water, 6-foot deep water, and you look down and you see that dry land.
What is that?
That's a freezer. See the Arctic glacier?
Yes.
Yeah,
From
freezer.
like the Come and Go, it seems
From
like
somebody, yeah, and it just is down the road there. And perhaps the firefighters were saying that's probably going to make that roof give way here because they didn't see that there this morning. But right there, that's where we got on. That's 19th Avenue Southwest and Bowling Street right there. And that's just kind of the clear shot that we have down the lane there. One of our cars is parked right there. But the firefighters were saying they did a check on somebody, a welfare check on somebody this morning in that area. There are still some people
in those homes.
Yes.
But they don't, so they're not taking them out, they just want to stay there, they're bringing them water?
They're trying to convince them
to
get out.
To get out of there, yeah.
And they did go to one house they visited yesterday, they went back again today. It was an elderly woman, and she wasn't there. Apparently it looked like her door was knocked out. One of her neighbors had gone back and said, you have to go, you have to get out of here. It's just amazing.
I mean, staying with your home and saving belongings is one thing, but when you see water like this, this is...
They're scared.
Saving lives.
I mean, they're scared. And,
granted.
But hearing you tell us that, Claire, makes me think that there's going to be the possibility of more discoveries of bodies when the water goes down.
Certainly, and I talked to some guy who was 78 years old. He was at that point that we were at trying to get into the water, and of course, obviously, they're very restrictive on who can take the boat out with the firefighters because they're obviously busy doing their job as well. But he's saying he was 78 years old, and he's lived in Czech Village since 1974. Czech himself, obviously, heritage, and he was crying. He had no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll hear sound from him later, but he had no idea the entire community was going to rebuild.
And can we watch that again?
To over 1,300 city blocks that have been affected and covered by the floodwaters.
Again, that is 1,300 city blocks. You know how long a block is. Put them back to back to back, and that's 1,300 total.
So it's just all of that is going downriver into the Iowa River, and that's heading to Coralville and Iowa City.
They don't need it.
Not at all. We saw in that video that John Campbell just showed us, the aerials on how much flooding there already is, and then you think how much more is coming.
And that's why that no people other than those that are authorized member of law enforcement may be within 100 yards of any area affected by flood. Coralville and Iowa City from 8:30 tonight until 6 a.m. You have to stay more than 100 yards away of any area affected by flood.
We have new Lake McBride video, but the thing about the video that we're seeing from Lake McBride here is it looks like a lake.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's hard to tell that we can't tell here if this. I know the water is higher than normal.
Sure.
But the video doesn't really give us any indication of any serious problems there. The dock still sitting out there. Is that out of place? I couldn't tell really. But Lake McBride is up too. But it's serious situation out there.
Vinton, notice the road is broken apart there. Looking at some of the other pictures, I'll let them load up. Here's another shot from Iowa 150 north of Vinton. And notice the road is broken there on the side. These were pictures, I believe, taken yesterday. Iowa 150 north of Vinton once again. Here's 150 north of Vinton, completely covered with water. And there's another shot of that. And looks like more broken road pictures right there. We saw these yesterday too, US 6 and Coralville covered with water. There's probably more than that at this point. Another shot of that water just covering the roadway completely. Let's keep going here. Here's some other shots now. Iowa Interstate 380 at mile marker 7. Some road water coming toward the road. And here's another shot from the same location. What else do we have here? Here's the Iowa 24 bridge in Fort Atkinson, just completely destroyed. And there's some zoomed in pictures of that. And just more water just ravishing this bridge. Looks like the Iowa-Chicago and Eastern Rail Bridge near Iowa 24 in Fort Atkinson. Just another shot there. A lot of pictures coming in from all over the state. And here's some of the newest ones that I just saw and I wanted to show you. This is US 18. Highway 18 between Charles City and New Hampton. So look at the road there, just badly damaged. You could almost stick your hand under it, looks like. So a lot of the road washed away under there, not safe for travel. Here's another shot of Highway 18 between Charles City and New Hampton. The road just broken away. And look, a big crack there on Highway 18 between Charles City and New Hampton, likely caused by the Cedar. Another shot, Highway 18. Just not a good situation there. The force it would take to break that is just incredible, and water can do that. Here's another shot of Highway 18 rounding a curve there. The water washed away along the side. This is the Union Pacific Bridge in Waterloo before it was washed out. Here's a picture after. Again, this is on the Iowa DOT's website. Just look at that water just demolishing the Union Pacific Bridge there in Waterloo. Here's another shot of that. And what else do we have here? Bryant Yard. I guess I'm not familiar where that is, but just lots of pictures. Here's near Clarksville. Look at that, the Iowa Northern Railway. Lots of damage there. I'm sure water was over at one point. You see the debris around. Another shot from the railway, Iowa Northern Railway near Clarksville. And look at that, just amazing stuff. All right, well, enough for pictures right now. We'll go back to the radar real quick. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning does continue.
That are ripped up from the sidewalk. Just look how fast the water flowed in there. It was strong enough to rip bricks that were laid down there in, in concrete.
Look at the chunks of pavement,
look at rip complete chunks of asphalt off of there. It's just unbelievable, the force of this stuff. All those bricks and asphalt are just a little bit of it. You go and look at the huge flower pots, the weigh a ton, and they are completely turned over. It's just amazing to see some of that stuff downtown, and it is finally all starting to clear away, so you can see more and more and more of it. Like what happened is just the glass fronts all just shattered, stuff like that. There is still water bubbling up from the sewers. There's furniture downtown. There's tires. There's dumpsters everywhere. There's piles of sand that just swept in from the river. There's some furniture I was talking about. It's ridiculous what you're going to find downtown, and it's going to take a lot of cleanup, and it's still not safe to go down there because there's a lot of little things like glass and nails and things that are.
Well, the manholes are open.
Oh yeah.
And look, I mean, you can still see the water too. That's in some of those streets.
Right there, it's still 2 to 3 feet deep.
Street.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh. Boy, every time
Mass is Fredonia.
Fredonia, right. The little town, that whole town.
And here we see the water has gone over that levee. It looks like beyond. Is that? I don't know if let me take that back. I don't know if the water has gone over that levee into Columbus Junction. You can just see the water approaching it.
Actually, we may want to look at these pictures again and bring Josh back in, because he was just down there a couple of days ago when they were building that and talking to some people in Columbus Junction. So
they were hoping that they would, their efforts would be enough. But again, images from Columbus Junction, an area that we know is devastated by floodwaters. World news. This is not ABC's traditional time. We were able to get, I guess, the East Coast feed, or the West Coast. West Coast. Excuse me, the West Coast feed, because we know there are a lot of things going on in the world, and the world is watching Iowa. But we want to give you the opportunity to get caught up on world events. We will be back immediately following World News with Charles Gibson
right at
7:30 with our continuous wall-to-wall coverage.
And as we leave you, we'll just continue to show you the video that we have today, the aerial video that John shot of Cedar Rapids. And we'll have more coverage of all the devastation here and in Iowa City as well coming up at 7:30.
More rain is in the forecast tonight. Eric Hong, ABC News, Coralville, Iowa.
This is Mike Von Frem, 25 miles north in Cedar Rapids, where the crest is passed, but not the pain. Jane Haranek has 4 children, the youngest just 8 weeks old. She is now washed out of her home, and the family restaurant she owns and runs is submerged.
Do your children understand what's at stake?
No, they don't. It's hard to even grasp the concept until you get down here. You can watch it on TV, but this is unbelievable.
24,000 people are now homeless in Cedar Rapids.
All our records, everything. I mean, our whole livelihood is in there.
Officials say most will have to wait 4 more days for the water to recede just to see what's left. It is an agonizing time.
We've had a few days of crying, so I think we're past that until I actually get there and look at it, and I'm sure I'll start crying again.
To make matters worse, the flood is threatening the drinking water in the whole city. Officials are begging people to stop taking showers and conserve.
At the current rate, we will deplete the storage tanks in 3 to 4 days unless we can get a continued reduction in the water usage as it is.
Despite the rain, the floodwaters here are receding, but the drinking water is almost gone, and most downtown homes are underwater. Officials estimate the damage will tally more than $700 million. David, this is a city that is still very much in crisis.
We can see the pouring rain there, Mike. Mike Von Frem, Eric Hong, both in the flood zone in Iowa.
With them by boat while they were looking at the damage. And this, you're looking in Iowa City, where we're still days away from the crest, and you see how much water is inside this Parkview Church in Iowa City already.
And water just coming up, covering little bulletin boards. It looks like almost children's drawings in parts of that church, and it looks like you're actually inside of the church space. Is that the balcony up there where perhaps the choir would gather? I can't tell too well, but I have to be guessing here. I wonder what kind of light they had to put on this to take these pictures. I'm wondering if the CNN crew, well, it's still light there, but in the church it seemed like they were using a lot of artificial light. Is it a school also?
I can't tell at the end of this long room here, but this is one of the first interior shots we've had. Yeah, there's the bulletin boards. Yes, from anything.
You can also go to our website, KCRG.com. There are a lot of updates about places who are offering donation opportunities. If you could make a donation financially.
Now it's kind of a little bit down. Things are still underwater here, but we will definitely have this video later on KCRG. It's, from what I understand from these people that were on the boat with me, it's very, very interesting pictures, very disastrous pictures when you consider how much money that these homeowners have put into it. One man, he says, his boathouse, you don't think of boathouses as being very expensive, but he has put as much as $120,000 into building this thing, and that could all be gone if he doesn't get it back in time. So a lot of stuff at stake for these people, but we will have much more on this story later on KCRG TV9. Ashley and Chris.
TV9's Josh Schinkel reporting live via Newsline 9.
You just see lots of water rushing through downtown Elkader. This is downtown Elkader, just east of the Keystone Bridge, so just east of the Keystone Bridge in Elkader. We continue to move downtown. Look at that, a view of Main Street at Mulberry Street facing south. That in Elkader. Again, thanks to the Clayton County Register for these photos. More high water, a field by the Central Community School. A field by the Central Community School at Elkader earlier this week inundated with water. These are pictures we've seen repeated in many portions of eastern Iowa. Elkader Emergency Services Building, the Elkader Fire Department, that's right along Main Street, also inundated with water. Here's another picture from Elkader as flooding occurred. This is the Fremont Bank on Main Street in Elkader. And as we said, we've had many pictures. That again, the Elkader Fire Department, Wilkie's grocery store parking lot on Main Street, and just an aerial shot as well of the extent of the flooding in Elkader as the river spilled over its banks. And we've seen plenty of flooding pictures from many portions of eastern Iowa, and as we said, we'll continue to see more flooding pictures come in. To apologize for going so fast. I didn't know that it was moving. Another picture along Iowa 13 also flooded over. You wonder why you can't get through 30 or 13? There's why. The flood water is moving across the roadways. Again, a shot from Highway 30. Many people calling, asking, when will those roads improve? When will those be open? Again, we've got to wait to see once the water stops flowing over and then assess any damage that might be from some of the roadways. Again, because underneath those roads, some of that subsoil is being pulled away.
Won't let them put that barge on the river because of safety reasons. The fire department is, worried about people being on the river because of the level it's at right now and the current, so they don't want that happening. We are allowed on the river today with this boat we're on today because this particular driver of the boat is authorized by the city because he's been taking city workers to different locations across the river and also, helping it out with rescues. But as far as any other boats that aren't authorized by the city, that's something that these homeowners can't get around to actually get their houseboats back up. They feel like a lot of these houseboats, even though they are kind of mangled right now and pushed up against this bridge, they are salvageable, if they could just kind of get that. Right now, although we are up on the levee, that